a drunk driver ran off the road right in front of the police station. 2 police officers came out of the police station. They picked him up off the ground. They let that drunk driver go. And not 1,500 feet later, he crossed the center line and killed a middle school teacher. And the drunk driver was killed because the police were extremely grossly negligent.
Welcome to another great episode of Cases Gone Wild with me, your host, John Marco, brought to you by Marco Law. We're going to continue our special edition Trial Lawyers Summit Cases Gone Wild version, where if you tuned into last episode, you're going to hear from dozens of lawyers who are here from across the country to give you their cases gone wild, interviewed by my podcast team right here at the Summit, downtown Detroit, while I am inside the conference. So it's another exciting show. If you like our show, please share with your friends and family. Give us a positive review. You can watch us on our YouTube channel or go to marcolaw.com for the podcast. Without further ado, here we go. Dive in for another Cases Gone Wild.
So welcome. Thank you for being here. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it.
Sure. My name is Chad Engelhart. I am an attorney in Ann Arbor, and we mainly handle catastrophic injury and wrongful death cases. I work in a small firm with my wife and our senior partner, and I've been doing it for about 20 years. Nice. I was in law enforcement for 12 years before that, and our firm's been around for almost 50 years. We have a statewide practice, and we really focus on getting to know our clients and taking the best care of them that we can.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell us about the craziest case that you can remember being involved in?
You know, I'm sure that on this podcast, and certainly with John Marco's record, lots of people talk about cases that have fantastic results, and there have been a lot of them. The case that I want to talk to you about actually goes the opposite way. It's a tragic result.
Oh.
And it starts in New Year's Eve in 2017 when a drunk driver ran off the road and right in front of the police station in a local community. And 2 police officers came out of the police station and ordered a tow truck, and they pulled the drunk driver out of the ditch, and he was falling down drunk, literally falling down drunk. They picked him up off the ground. They were towards it was New Year's Eve, and they had other plans that night.
Yep.
And they let that drunk driver go. And not 1,500 feet later, he crossed the center line, again, right in front of the police station, and killed a middle school teacher, mother, wife, a wonderful woman and a member of our community was killed, and the drunk driver was killed because the police were extremely grossly negligent and let that drunk driver continue to drive and claimed, we couldn't smell anything, even though he was literally falling down drunk, and they had to pick him up off the ground and put him back in his car. It was a terrible case, and under Michigan law, the case, we prevailed at the trial court. The defense argued, the municipality argued, that since the police officers didn't have a relationship specifically with the woman that died, and the most immediate cause of the woman's death was the drunk driver hitting her, not the police letting him go, that they were entitled to something called governmental immunity, and that only the most immediate cause of death was pursuable, and the drunk driver was dead. And so we tried to get the law changed. We tried to get the law changed in the legislature. We tried to get the law changed in the Court of Appeals, and unfortunately, the things did not go our way, and that's still the law in Michigan in many ways. There have been others that have taken up this fight, including John Marco, including Ben Johnson, including the Michigan Association for Justice, and some wonderful legislators that see the injustice that governmental immunity leads to. And so we're going to keep on fighting this battle and hold the public officials that are supposed to be protecting and serving our community, hold them accountable when they cause needless harm and death.
Absolutely. So you said you had a background in law enforcement. How did you feel towards those officers that let that guy go? Because you've been on that side.
It is very unusual for us to take a case against law enforcement officers like that, just simply because of the conflicts and the number of police officers that I know, and I've represented over the years. I began my career in law representing police officers in misconduct cases.
Right.
This case was so egregious that every officer that I had shown it to, all the experts that testified for us, every officer that I knew that I showed, all said this is an incredibly negligent act to pick someone up and allow them to drive.
Right.
And it should have gone to a jury. The community should have heard this, and there should have been accountability. Instead, this woman's death went unaccounted for.
That's awful. You think if it went in front of a jury, you'd have a different outcome?
I have no doubt in my mind.
My name is Issa Haddad. I do criminal defense and some other stuff. My main focus is on criminal defense. I got some personal injuries, some property cases, some civil rights cases, but criminal defense is where my passion is. And I got one of the crazy case that went to trial last year, and we got not guilty all the way across the board. It was like 4 felonies and 2 misdemeanors, and it was wild.
Really?
It was wild.
Are you
yes.
able to tell us a little bit about the types of felonies?
So he was charged with unarmed robbery, which is a 15-year felony, larceny from a person, which is a 10-year felony, 2 aggravated felony stalking counts, 1 domestic violence, and 1 interfering with a phone crime report. Okay? And so all this arises from a boyfriend-girlfriend getting into a dispute.
Of course, usually.
Yep. And at the end of the day, the jury said, dude, she was lying from the beginning.
Really?
Yes, we cross-examined all the cops. We brought in the neighbors to testify. We brought in the ex-boyfriend who she was cheating with to testify. I had like one question for him. How many text messages did you send with her in the last month? Oh, probably 50 to 100.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
she testified she only sent him 20.
Really?
So they knew she was lying. The cops did a horrible job on it. The client was innocent from day one, didn't want to take any pleas. They offered him misdemeanors. And normally, if you did something wrong, that is something to consider.
Yeah,
And he wasn't considering anything because he knew he didn't do anything wrong. And we pushed it all the way to trial. And we got a good jury. We got a good foreman. And one of the craziest things is iPhones. She had an iPhone. She had 2 phones.
Ooh.
And, you know, they're arguing, talking about, you know, his being out of work and not having a 401k and not, like, you know, he's 30 years old and he's got to get his life together.
Yeah.
So she's degrading him. He's in tears. And, you know, he says, well, you know, you went camping last week with that guy. Oh, no, we didn't. Well, I saw a text message. Let me see your text messages. She's like, no. 30 minutes later, she drinks wine. He's drinking wine. He goes, oh, here's my phone. So she's looking through it and goes, these text messages, the conversation doesn't even flow. Let's look at your recently deleted text messages.
Everyone forgets about the recently deleted folder.
Yes. So as soon as he says that, she jumps on him, grabs his phone. Okay? He just wants to get out of the apartment.
Yeah.
So there's a struggle, and he puts his shorts on inside out. He gets arrested. His shorts are on inside out because he was in a rush.
Oh, my God.
And she jumps on him on his back. Her feet's elevated off the ground. And they go down the stairs. They fall down the stairs, and he leaves. And the neighbor calls the cops. She didn't call the cops. The neighbors call the cops. He realizes he's got her phone, so he brings it back and sets it on the back porch. 10 minutes later, he gets arrested.
Why?
Okay, for domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
And she testified that she was only holding him to try to get her phone. She never jumped on his back. The neighbor testifies that her feet were at least 6 inches to 12 inches off the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
All the way down the staircase, you know. She was the original aggressor. There was a 12 by 15 coffee table from IKEA in the middle of her apartment. And she said that he threw her on top of this coffee table. From the police officer's body camera, there was a puzzle still put together on it
No way.
when she was being interviewed. Okay. And I asked, where'd you get that? Oh, it's an IKEA, so it's pretty strong. They're pretty cheap.
Right.
Okay, so if someone were to fall on it, it'd probably break.
Right.
Well, I tripped on it. Okay, and the puzzle wasn't disturbed.
Right.
Exactly. And then the cops arrested the guy, and he was trying to tell the cops on video she was choking me. Okay. The first time he says she was choking me, the officer says, "Oh, I thought he said joking." So then we forwarded it to at the police station where he said she was choking me. I couldn't breathe. Never made it to the reports anywhere.
Really?
They never asked about the stolen phone when they arrested him because it wasn't a concern at the point in time.
Right.
And so the jury, after we talked to the jury, they told me that lady was lying and she was crazy, and they felt bad for him for having to wear a tether for a year by the time it got to trial.
Oh.
The foreperson dropped off a care package for me and my client at my office.
Aww.
A candle, and some coffee creamers and some stuff. Really nice
That
lady
is-
did that. I've never had that done before.
No.
And I got 2 5-star reviews from the jury.
From the jury.
From the jury. I was a juror on this guy, and I saw this guy in action. It was crazy and it was wild.
My name's Alex Waldman. I've been a trial attorney at Marco Law. I've been doing this for about 9 years now, and handling personal injury cases, employment cases, and some civil rights cases.
Nice. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about one of the craziest cases you've ever been involved with?
So a few years ago, I was representing a young woman. She was at a bar with a bunch of her friends, and someone had come to pick them up. And as they were all piling into the car, this was shortly after July 4th, there was a box of fireworks in the back seat, and one of the acquaintances ran into the car, and as they drove off, he ends up lighting one of the fireworks and throws it out of the moving car, which he did successfully. And then a few moments later, he grabs another firework and tries to throw it out of the moving car, but this time he misses the window, and it ends up landing in the box of fireworks that are at the base of my client's feet, which ends up causing a massive explosion, 3rd and 4th degree burns all over her. So pretty wild. Everyone denied liability. Everyone said they weren't at fault. It was kind of a whole mess.
I would imagine so. That is pretty crazy. What ended up happening with that? Did you go to trial? Did you settle?
So shockingly, the court ended up finding that the driver wasn't responsible.
Really?
Found that the person who owned the vehicle wasn't responsible. Found that there was no insurance coverage for the incident. And then we got a $3 million judgment against the person who threw the fireworks, who was actually in jail. So not really a happy ending for the client, but a crazy set of circumstances for sure.
My goodness. What was it like building a case like that? Any crazy depositions come out of it?
A lot of depositions and a lot of people just not wanting to take responsibility for it, or not maybe being as open about how much they drank that evening. So it was an interesting case. I definitely felt for my client. She's got a nice expensive piece of paper, but that's about it.
I'm Nicole Million. I'm an attorney for Marco Law. I do various types of law at Marco Law. So I do employment law, medical malpractice, those are the main two, but I also do general negligence. And I've been an attorney for 2 years now.
Nice. So go ahead. Tell us about the craziest case that you've ever been involved with.
So it had to be this case when I first actually started at Marco Law. It's a general negligence case. It was involving a school and a student. And basically what happened was the student was brought into this gymnasium when other classes were in there. And they were brought in there because there wasn't enough teachers to be watching these students. And so this teacher that was in there was overwhelmed at this point. I mean, I think she had 3 or 4 classes. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Which is a lot of children to be watching all at the same time, right? And what happened is they had like these plastic hockey sticks, and the hockey stick, what happened is the teacher grabbed it and just threw it behind her, didn't look, and it hit the child in the head.
Oh.
And there was a big gash that was open on her head from it, and very serious complications that came from that. But, it's just crazy to think that you wouldn't even think to even look,
No.
when you're in a room full of children more than what you usually would have, right?
Yeah.
And that was a big point in the case. It was a big point in the case because that kind of is where the school now was involved. Because one, this teacher should not have had that many students.
Right.
You should have had other teachers in there if you had that many classes to be able to supervise and make sure that these kinds of incidents don't happen.
So what kind of was the outcome of this case? Did it settle? Did it go to trial at all?
It did settle.
Okay.
It did settle. And I think it really was a turning point in the case, because when you look at it, it's like, oh, well, she got hit in the head with a plastic hockey stick, right? Or
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, well, what damage can that do? Well, it can do a lot of damage.
Apparently
And
so.
yeah, it really changed out the case as well when, I started looking or posing like the superintendent of the school, things of that nature that also said, yes, we should not have had that many classes in there. It's tough for teachers to supervise and making sure the children are safe when there's that many extra students in there. And I really started making it about safety of the children. And I think that was a big turning point in the case.
Yeah, I know any suits involving schools or things like that, government immunity can become a factor. Was that anything you had to contend with?
It was something that we had to consider. Yeah, it was. Realistically, I think these actions could arise to that level of gross negligence. But in this instance, the school was in a public school. And so that's something you consider as well when you have those kind of cases. Is it a public school? Is it a charter school? Those are, because government immunity only applies to public schools, right? And so it would not apply to a private school or a charter school.
Thank you for having me. My name is Nick Tregalis. I'm a plaintiff personal injury lawyer. I started my firm with my wife in 2018. She's also a lawyer. And before that, we were defense lawyers for a regional firm in the area.
Nice. You got experience on both sides of the coin, huh?
Yes. Yep. And I think helpful to have had a different perspective, at least at one time.
Absolutely. Can you tell us about the craziest case that you've ever been involved with?
I've had a lot of interesting names. Like I represented a woman whose last name was God. And so every time I got an e-filing on that case, it was from God. I did like a double take on my email. And I never got used to it. I'm still not used to it.
I wouldn't either.
I have another case. My client's last name is Marriott, and the key witness in the case, fact witness, lay witness, his name is Garriott. So I have a Marriott, Garriott, constantly being interchanged in another case.
Oh, no.
But in terms of kind of odd case that I've got coming up for trial now, it was a gentleman that lives in southwest Detroit, and he was renting a house, and he had a infestation of rats. So he kept telling the landlord that there were rats in and around the house, and this happened over a period of months, but nothing really ever happened. But he kept making the complaints. He'd noticed the evidence of rats being there, but one day he went to go take his garbage out, and he opened up the garbage can, and a full family of rats jumped out in unison at him.
Ugh.
And it spooked him. Obviously, he was trying to get back, and he fell down. He broke his arm and had a big surgery. And so the whole case is about these rats.
Oh, my goodness. What's the trial prep looking like for a case like that?
Well, it's thank you to all the folks here who are presenting. One of the things I'm filming this in the middle of a big data presentation. So part of the things that we're doing is looking at questions like, I have a personal vendetta against squirrels in my own house. They chew my trash cans. They're always bothering me. And so one of the things that we're looking at is to what extent jurors will think, squirrels, raccoons, rats, otherwise that stuff's going to be in a garbage can. Proximate cause is another issue. Like, a rat infestation, you don't typically think of a major surgery and a fractured arm. You think of rat droppings or chewed wires or things.
Yeah.
So we're focus grouping those kinds of things. We're looking at how best to explore that, how best to package the language in the case to talk about it. Because like I was saying a minute ago, this was not a new problem. There was many, many opportunities to stop it. And I think that's where the focus needs to be on the case. But that's my opinion. I want to see like what people in the community might think about it. We still have a few months left before trial. So that, to answer your question, we're kind of looking at the best way to package the discussion around liability.
Absolutely. It's all about how you present it to a jury. Well, good luck to you, and thank you so much for sharing that story. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, and thank you to everybody involved putting this podcast as well as this program on.
My name's Scott Beatty. I'm an employment lawyer. I've been doing it about 25 years.
Nice.
So I've been doing it a while. And the case I want to talk about, it's a race discrimination case. And it was against a dialysis center located in Dearborn. The clientele was about 50% Arabic, 50% African American. My client was an African American woman who worked there. And one of the things that makes this crazy is that the manager who was discriminating against her showed up at the clinic one day for African American Month with fried chicken and handed out fried chicken to all of the African American clients waiting there in the waiting room.
Oh.
Yes.
Did anyone else get fried chicken or
No.
just the
Oh,
African?
just the African Americans.
Interesting.
So we thought that was pretty outrageous, and some of the things we see in employment cases are just things you really can't believe that people are that dumb.
Right.
So
Did you get a good outcome for that case?
yeah, we got a real good outcome for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Good.
So, I mean, there are other cases. When I was a young law clerk, we defended a case. I was doing insurance defense work then. We defended a case of a guy who was suing a gun manufacturer. He was in a rowboat duck hunting. He shot a duck. He shot it in the wing.
Oh.
The duck landed right next to the boat and was flapping around with one wing, so it's going around in a circle. And the plaintiff didn't want to shoot it because it'd blow it to smithereens. So he got the great idea that he was going to turn the gun around and hit the duck with the head with the butt of the gun. But instead, he hit the side of the boat. He discharged and killed himself.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So what were you guys able to do for that?
We filed a motion that the case should be dismissed because he was not using the gun as it was intended to be used. And in that case, we got him dismissed on that case.
That is crazy. So
yeah.
you used to do defense work?
For a very brief period of time. I didn't like defense work, so...
Yeah, everyone comes over from the dark side
Yeah,
eventually.
so eventually, after 2 years, I came over, so...
So my name is Emily Thomas, and I am a birth injury attorney. So I specialize in medical malpractice cases involving injuries to mothers and babies during childbirth. I've been working in that area for about 15 years. I actually in law school clerked doing it, so it's all I've ever done, and I'm really passionate about it. I'm very privileged to be able to work in that niche area for women who are my peers.
Right, that's awesome. Can you tell us about the craziest case you've ever been involved with?
A wild one that I had was a case involving something called placenta previa. It can occur where your placenta sits over your cervix. So if you go into labor, you can have a massive hemorrhage of blood, and it can be, very traumatic for mom and baby. Baby particularly can lose a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And that's very important because babies don't have very much blood.
Right.
So I had this case where mom had a placenta previa. It is a high-risk condition, and she was admitted to the hospital because she had some bleeding, vaginal bleeding. Mm-hmm. And she has an episode where she has a hemorrhage while in the care of the hospital, and they take her for delivery. They end up doing a C-section to take the baby out because many women with placenta previa should not deliver vaginally, and that's why they're monitored in a hospital setting.
Right.
When they delivered the baby had a massive blood loss, and it was a black baby. She came out very blue, very pale, clearly in need of a transfusion. So they ordered a blood transfusion, which was relayed to the blood bank. They also ordered blood transfusion for mother. And someone went down to the blood bank, it turned out, to get the mother's blood, but baby's blood was never picked up. And this poor baby did not get a blood transfusion for over 36 hours after the hemorrhage had occurred.
Oh my goodness.
Causing brain injury, kidneys to shut down. It's very severe. In order to have oxygen to all of your organs and tissues in your body, you have to have enough blood to carry that
blood.
oxygen. And so this poor baby had traumatic results, and it was absolutely preventable had they timely given her a blood transfusion after birth. Yeah, it was a wild case, particularly in that they went to get mom's blood, but nobody made any effort to pick up baby's blood in the process.
That's just awful. I can't imagine what building a case like that was like. I mean, did it end up settling? Did you guys go to trial?
We did end up resolving the case through a settlement. But it did involve quite a bit of electronic medical record investigation, which is another area of my practice I'm very fascinated by and always learning, and deposing people from the blood bank of the hospital. And when we saw the tracking on the units in this whole other system that's outside the medical record, and I saw that they went and got mom's blood, but they didn't go get babies, I almost fell out of my chair, because we had the hard evidence from these computer systems of when these units of blood were processed, where they were sitting, who came down to sign the release forms to get them or not to get them.
Right.
And it actually wasn't until a second order for a blood transfusion was placed for the baby that anybody ever went down, over a day later to get the blood units for the baby that were already sitting there.
That's just awful. Did baby end up being able to go home after that eventually?
Well, the baby did have some complications, did end up going home. It had severe renal disease, and actually required a future kidney transplant as a result of the permanent injuries from the delayed blood transfusion. So it's very serious. If a patient needs blood, there's all kinds of regulations, and that's why we have blood donation. It's very, very important that we make that available to patients. And I'll always remember this case too, because the baby had the same blood type as me.
Oh no.
So, it's very important. Yeah.
My name is Jumana Kiruz, plaintiff injury attorney around town. Have been doing this for almost 30 years. About or over 40,000 cases.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So you must have seen a lot.
I have seen a lot.
Are you able to tell us about one of the craziest cases you've had?
Yes, I can remember this case where my client was hit by a car that sped off, and the insurance company kept insisting that there was no other car that hit him, and they fought us, and we were able to pull out the traffic video footage, and we were able to see the flashing car of a sedan that was taking off. That took about a year and a half, because I believed my client and I filed an uninsured motorist claim, which is what you file, when somebody hits your client and runs away. And my client had uninsured motorist coverage to the tune of $500,000, and her injuries were worth more than that. And what do you know? We turned that case around. I don't know if you call that crazy, but that's about phantom cars that sometimes hit a car and run away. And so we turned it around and we got the full policy limits. But for the longest time, Mackenzie, they were fighting us, saying there was no car. And we had to, subpoena the traffic footage that did show that there was a fleeing sedan. Yeah. So I don't know if that is crazy by John's definition, but it goes to tell you that if you believe your client and you try to do everything you can, sometimes, with the right advocacy, with the right hard work, it does pay off. And in this case, it really did pay off, because that footage, we weren't even sure that footage was even preserved. And so we obtained it in litigation, we believed the client, and, we hit it, bingo.
Great. Yeah. So you were able to settle that case, get your policy limit?
Yes, settled the case for the policy limits.
Awesome.
And, I'm very happy. I'm very happy about the result, because that client, I think, was turned down by another firm before me. Now, I never like to hear that, because I want to be the first firm that they come to. But it's okay. I know where this client is referring from now on, who this client is referring to from now on.
Absolutely. It's crazy. It takes the right advocate to get the right result sometimes for 100%. Clients.
100%. You cannot look at cases just for the purpose of closing them. I mean, you are an advocate. You're a lawyer and you're an advocate. Some cases need to be closed, based on the fact, but sometimes you have to dig harder and be patient and try, and you don't always, but you may luck out. That's what it is to be an advocate.
Absolutely.
I believed my client. When she told me that she was hit by a fleeing car, a phantom car is what we call them, I believed her. And I took a chance and filed against her insurance, both for her medical benefits as well as for her uninsured motorist, and it worked.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing that great
It's
work.
my pleasure. Can you imagine how many crazy cases I have with 40,000 cases? But see, I
No.
don't think of them as crazy. I think of them, I know John calls them crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think of them more like, doing your job.
Yeah.
Doing your job.
And your job just happens to be crazy sometimes.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does.
So my name is Michael Hanna. I am the managing partner of Morgan & Morgan in Michigan. I have been a lawyer since 2010, so I guess that would be 15 years.
Nice. Nice. Are you able to tell us about the craziest case you've been involved with?
There's been a lot of crazy cases, and I was just racking my head, but I think the one that's the most on my mind is the one that's about to start on Monday, because we're getting ready to start trial in 2 days, so maybe I'll just tell you about that. And that hasn't started yet, so but it's a fascinating story, and it's kind of a unique story to tell. Basically, it's just an auto accident, but what's interesting about it is the plaintiffs are Chinese Christian missionaries, and they were in America at the time doing some of this work where they were, I think, at a training or what have you with a church on how to do missionary work, and they left. They were in their car and they got smoked by this car, this company car, without getting into names of who the parties are. And the wife got pretty catastrophically hurt. She had 5 or 6 compression fractures. And the husband didn't have too much physical injury. So the interesting thing about it is, on paper, there's a lot of minefields, but I think a lot of the power come from that. So because they aren't here, they're not from here, they didn't get much treatment. They were only in America for a little while. They didn't have insurance. But these injuries are so real, and a lot of it just doesn't manifest on the paper documents. It's because they were here for a little while, and then they went to Ethiopia to continue their missionary work. And so this is what we've been wrestling with the last couple days, is how do we really tell and present this story? And I think a lot of it is by bringing the background and talking about it. First of all, the idea of a Chinese missionary is just Christian missionary is just not the norm.
Right.
I think the Communist Party started off by the saying that religion is the opiate of the masses. So they weren't really about that. And so he tells this story about how when he was younger, his family would take him to a witch doctor and these types of things. And then his dad died and he felt this emptiness, and then that led him to religion. And, when he came and he started doing this missionary work, his mom called him once, and she said she got a call from a local police officer in their village. And he asked her, what's your son doing? And she said that he's preaching missionary work overseas. And then I guess in China they have their version of WhatsApp. And then he got a message from the local cop telling him, I hear you're doing this over there. You may want to stop or not. It's up to you, but there will be consequences. There's something to that effect.
Interesting.
And it just kind of goes to show how important this is for him. And so they're here, they're training, and they do it. And then his wife has these catastrophic back injuries where she can't, get out of bed. She can't go in and out of the shower. And he has to help her. And he has to be, the best word I could think of is this wounded healer.
Yeah.
Because he has these injuries, but he has to be the one there for them. And after a few months, he had to leave to go to Ethiopia to continue his missionary work. And so the defense was really playing with that, and the framing they have is, well, they weren't that hurt. Because if they are that hurt, if the wife's that hurt, why would he leave his wife to go to another country. And I think that was part of the power of, and this is helpful right now because we're putting the story together, the story that we want to present, and it's because of this background of knowing what he went through and what he needs to do that explains why he had to leave her even in that time. And it's not that she wasn't hurt, it's the strength of his faith. And, you know, he left her here in good hands with other people to help take care of her. And so this is a case that's gone wild so far, but it hasn't completely finished its journey, and hopefully we'll finish it off on a high note on come this week coming up.
I can't believe you're starting a trial on Monday and you're here at the summit this weekend on a Saturday.
Yeah, and I had my second son on Thursday.
You got a lot going on.
You got a lot going on.
Less than a
Raphael, I
week.
love you. Daddy can't wait to come see you in a little bit, and hopefully take a couple days off after next week.
Oh, absolutely. Well, congratulations on your
you.
second son.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And good luck on this upcoming trial.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing good work, and thank you for being here to share that story with us.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, and thank you for this wonderful conference and bringing this to light in Detroit, and hopefully this is the first of many.
I'm John Marco of Marco Law, and as you know, I the host and founder of Marco Law and of Cases Gone Wild.
Absolutely. So, been doing this for a while. What would you say is the craziest case that you've ever been involved in?
Well, it changes week to week, but this week we just got done with a huge trial in Oakland County Circuit Court in front of great Judge Jake Cunningham against the Kroger Corporation, which the defense kept objecting for me calling them the Kroger Corporation. So I had to call them by their technical name, which was the Kroger Company of Michigan, a Michigan corporation, just to be perfectly correct on that. And,
whatever they want.
Whatever they want, right? So I represented a wonderful man and wonderful human being and his family, Brian Mierendorf, who was hired by, he worked for an HVAC company, a refrigeration company, and he was hired, his company was hired. He just went to work, it wasn't his company. And he was sent to Kroger store 440 in Bloomfield Township. Now, this is a old store. It was built in 1965.
Ooh.
It used to be an A&P. You're too young, but my dad...
No idea what that is.
You used to collect these like green stamps, and when you got like a card full of green stamps from A&P, you'd get like a discount or something. I don't know exactly what you got. You got something, or maybe you could buy items in a book. I don't know.
Nice.
But that's how old the store was. And then it became a Farmer's Jack, and then Kroger... The Kroger Company of Michigan, a Michigan corporation, bought it. And anyways, all the freezers and the refrigerators that you see at a Kroger, it's not like the refrigerator at your house. The refrigerator at your house, you plug it in and it starts cooling your stuff. Because there's so many refrigeration units and freezer units, and a lot of them are open. Like, like the island coolers, they call them.
Yep. Where the turkeys are for Thanksgiving.
Exactly, right? Like, those are open all the time.
Yep.
Like, it's not like there's a lid that goes on to keep the
Nope. They got to keep them super cold.
Super cold, right? So in order to do that, there's these pipes that go throughout the store, like pipes that go to your stove to turn on the gas, right? And they carry refrigerant. Now, this Kroger had a very toxic refrigerant called R22 Freon. It was banned by the federal government because it was so toxic, and it was ruining our ozone and staying in the atmosphere for 100 years and all kind of horrible stuff.
Gosh.
And they were going to switch it out because they had to legally. And my guy's job on this particular day was to go in and swap out these cores. And it basically looked like, so you open up the freezer, there's these pipes, and then there's access points on the pipes, and it looks exactly like, almost identical to when you would pump up your bike tire.
Okay.
Or your car tire. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, those little caps, and there's a little spike in the middle, or supposed
exactly,
to be.
Right? Exactly, right? So you take off the cap.
Yep.
There's that little stem.
Yep.
And then there's that little spike or the pin or whatever
Yeah, when
it
you
is.
push down, the air comes out.
That's right. That's a valve, and it keeps the air from escaping, and it lets you put stuff in if you need to. So these refrigeration units have like that. Imagine a metal, bike tire type valve. And unfortunately on this one, it was missing the insert. It was missing that pointy thing inside. So my guy's job was to take the cap off and swap out those valves. And you have a tool to do that. It lets you work on the system, just like you can put your air compressor on your tire and it doesn't blow up. Right? So he takes the cap off. The valve was missing, and it started exploded essentially at 250 psi and started spraying him in the face with this toxic coolant. He put his hands in front of his face and tried to stop it. And he's a hero. There's kids, and they made him do this in the middle of the day. So there's kids, there's little kids, and there's moms shopping, doing their...
I can't believe they did this during store hours.
It's crazy. Kroger's totally negligent. And Kroger was supposed to make sure that these lines were safe before anybody worked on them. They were their lines.
Yep.
Kroger has an in-house HVAC team of like 40 plus people in Michigan that are supposed to maintain these lines. So my client takes the cap off, it explodes. He is worried about other people. It's spraying. Imagine it's spraying this toxic chemical into the air. It created like a mushroom cloud.
Oh, wow.
In the middle of the day above this cooler. He grabs a spare cap. The cap that was on literally exploded off and like flew across the Kroger. That's how much pressure was on.
They ever find it?
Kroger never gave it to us. We don't know where it is. And he took a spare cap and tried to cap it. And when he did that, the refrigerant was being blasted into his hands at such high pressure that it injected inside his hands this toxic coolant. It literally injected it in. It went.
So
it
he's
broke
not
the
just
skin.
touching a toxic chemical; it's being injected into his skin.
It's being put inside of his skin, and he was rushed to the hospital. They had to do emergency surgery. The doctor said that when he cut into his hands, all this toxic chemical was literally bubbling out of his hands. He described it like soda pop. A toxic soda pop was coming out of his hands. And then my client had to undergo 25 surgeries where they were literally, they wanted to save as much of his hand as possible.
Yeah.
So they would cut off the dead, mummified. The doctor said the tissue was literally mummifying and dying. So they cut off finger by finger, piece by piece of his hands. It was horrible. And he's never the same. And now he has, essentially they cut off almost his entire right hand, other than his thumb. And he has scar tissue and all kinds of horrible disfigurement. And then they cut off his ring finger on his left hand.
Can't wear his wedding ring
Can't
anymore.
wear his wedding ring. Yeah, he's horrible. He can't go back to work as a pipe fitter. It's been devastating. But Kroger, there was a real, I don't know what their legal team was thinking. They were totally out of touch with reality, non-sympathetic, did not ever take any accountability, defended the case. They destroyed or withheld all the maintenance records, which we asked for, and the judge ordered them to produce the maintenance records. They withheld them. We asked for the inspection records because they're supposed to inspect these things all the time. Withheld or destroyed those. We don't know which. They destroyed or withheld all of the repair records for this unit. They didn't give any records. They destroyed or withheld all the video. They didn't do an incident report until 2 years later. 2 years later. 2 years later. And I asked the guy on the stand, I said, why did you make an incident report 2 years later? He goes, I don't know.
Oh.
Somebody from Kroger Corporate told me to. We don't know.
Wonder why.
So, it's a long case that we'll have to do a full episode on, but I want to thank the Oakland County jury. It was the largest premises verdict in Michigan history, and it's the largest loss of consortium verdict in Michigan history. The total verdict was around $76.6 million.
Amazing. And it wasn't just him, it was his wife, too.
His wife, and they have two beautiful little kids.
Yeah.
The family's been absolutely devastated. And the Kroger Company of Michigan, a Michigan corporation, still has not taken any responsibility. They never offered reasonable sum. They originally offered zero.
Which is insane.
Which is insane. And we went to a mediation, and the vice president of claims for Kroger was there, and he didn't even know that our client lost his fingers. So, I mean, it's insane how they handled this case. The lack of empathy, the lack of reality, the disgusting tactics of withholding, destroying, and or hiding evidence. And so the jury, I don't think, appreciated it. It didn't take them too long to come back with this record-breaking verdict. And, it's not over. We still are going to have an appeal, and we're going to see it. But
it's a hard-fought case. You guys did amazing work on it. I got a little taste, but you guys did some real heavy lifting there. It was a long trial.
Long trial, yeah. It was 9 days. And then we started right into the conference.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to getting some rest tomorrow. But
seeing your family, all that.
But
you're a busy man.
It was great. So we'll talk more about it. But that's my case gone wild for this week, and we'll be one for the books.
Absolutely.
It's one for the record books and one for the books.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing that story with us. You can't wait to hear more about it later.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for all your help, and thanks for being such an awesome partner at the conference. It's been amazing, and I hope we can do this next year. We had a great turnout.
Yes.
We had a great reception. I mean, it was just revitalizing. It's re-energizing, revitalizing to have all these attorneys from across the country, some of the best in the business, best in Michigan, best in the country, one place, one time, and it's nice to show off downtown Detroit and how far we've come,
Absolutely. So. It's great for the city.
It's great for the city.
That. It's great to mingle with all these great attorneys.
Yes.
Very inspiring.
It's great to be here. The conference is unbelievable. It's wrapping up now. Anyway, my name is Vince Colella, and I'm a personal injury and I'm a civil rights attorney. I have an office in Southfield. I've been in practice for about 30 years.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us about a crazy case that you've been involved with?
Well, I don't know if it's such a crazy case, but it was a really funny situation. One of my very first trials in 1997 was in Wayne County Circuit Court. And I had this little old lady, her name is Louise Miller, and she was getting off a Greyhound bus in, I want to say Cincinnati, and they put this platform step out there. And as people were getting off the bus, she could hear it's kind of crickety and it's not really solid. And when she got off the bus, she stepped on it, it flipped on her, and she broke her foot. So we took the case to case evaluation or mediation at that time, and 3 lawyers from the county evaluated it at $15,000. So probably 2-3 days before trial, we had a settlement conference with Judge Harwood, judge down in Wayne County, and Greyhound bus offered $30,000 and then $45,000 and eventually $60,000. And I said to Louise, that's a lot of money. It's 4 times what the evaluators, evaluated for. So what do you think? And she's like, no, I want $1 million.
All right.
So I walked into the judge's chambers. Judge said, what's going on? I said, I think I'm going to need your help. She's like, with what? I said, well, they're at 4 times what the mediation is, but my client wants $1 million. You need to talk to her. She said, bring her in. So Louise Miller comes in, and she's got her cane, and she's walking, and she's really sweet, old. She's the epitome sweet old lady, like you love her. Very polite. And so the judge says, ma'am, I understand that Mr. Colella has got $60,000 on the table, 4 times what the case evaluation was. She said, yeah. Said, so what do you want? She said, I'd like $1 million. And the judge says, well, that's a lot of money for this case. And Louise says to her, well, I have God on my side. So Judge Harwood, without even missing a beat, says, ma'am, I've been sitting on this bench for about 30 years, and I've never had God as one of my jurors. Wow. So Louise stood up, and she got her cane, and she said, it's all the same with with you, Judge, I'll just try the case.
Oh, wow.
So we come back on Monday. We try this case for 3 days. And the jury awarded her $500,000.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
How about that?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Was she happy with that result?
Well, she was, except that they gave her $385,000 in future damages, and she didn't think that I would be entitled to a fee on that amount of money because it was for the future.
Yep.
I had to kind of explain to her that all of the money is what I get my fee on. So she was sweet but shrewd.
Oh, yeah. She
woman.
gave you a run for your money.
She
That's
sure
for
did.
sure.
She sure did.
I am Chandler Ola. I am an attorney at the firm of Dragalis and Dragalis, and we mainly focus on personal injury cases.
Nice.
So-
You've been doing this how long?
I have been doing this for about 2.5 years. I started at the defense side over in Navarra, and made the switch about a year and a half ago.
Nice. It's been a theme of people coming over from the dark side.
It is.
So can you tell us about one of the craziest cases so far in your career that you've been involved with?
You know, it's one of the craziest, and at the same time one of the easiest that we've had to deal with at the same time. We had a case where client was driving a Comcast van, and are you familiar with the Fast and Furious franchise?
I absolutely am.
You know Paul Walker's car, Nissan Skyline?
Yep.
So I had one of the defendants had imported a Skyline GT and imported it from Japan, and he was weaving in and out of traffic, and he got nicked by another car who didn't see this guy, and the Skyline went across the double yellow and got split in half by our driver.
Oh my goodness.
And you know there's 2 defendants in the case, and it was one of those situations where we just had to sit back and relax and let them fight over liability. You know, there was two $250,000 policies, so we demanded the full policy from both. Our client had a torn bicep, a bunch of other catastrophic injuries, and so it was one of those situations where we were able to do a few things on the case, get affidavits from a couple of doctors saying that the bicep was inoperable, and it ended up settling for the full 500. So.
Nice.
And so it was a very good day for our office, and we were able to sit back and relax for once in our lives. So
Absolutely.
That's always nice.
How long were you working up that case to get it settled?
You know, it probably took a good, with depth, discovery time, I'd say a good 20, 25 hours. Nothing too crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at you. That's crazy
I
that
know.
he lived after an accident like that.
I know. It was one of the greatest guys I've met and got to spend some time with, and so it was a good day, and he was over the moon for it. So he was, yeah.
So I'm Nick Cochimilio, and I do financial planning, including structured settlements and structured attorney fees for trial lawyers and their clients. And I started doing this when I was 22, right out of college. I was inspired to get into this industry because of a tragedy in my own family.
Oh.
My uncle was a victim of medical malpractice and ended up settling his case. There was a large settlement, some in cash, some in payments. Cash portion was mismanaged, and the only thing that my family had left to take care of him was his monthly payments. And when I found out that that was a structured settlement, I decided that's what I wanted to do.
No, very inspiring. So
20 years now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Long time. So in the time that you've been doing this, is there a crazy case or client or anything that you can recall working with?
There is a lot of crazy cases, and not all of them I can talk about.
Yeah.
But there is one in particular that I can because of the facts and how it all went down.
Well, let's hear it.
All right, so this is not, I'm not the trial lawyer, obviously.
Right.
I'm the structured settlement, advisor. And
You come after all that.
Well, no, I attend and I help prepare, like some of the parameters that we submit before we go into a mediation to make sure that they're going to cooperate in a way that allows me to do my job best.
Okay.
So
okay,
I was
see.
invited to attend a 2-day mediation in Albuquerque. And this is one of Sean Claggett's cases. And Sean was explaining the case to me, and he's like, "Oh, well, this is a case it happened in Sacramento, California, and it was a FedEx truck that came up against stopped traffic and didn't stop and ran right through a car and killed 2 Hispanic males. One of them had a wife and kids." I'm like, "Well, if it happened in California, why are we going to Albuquerque?" He's like, "Well, it turns out that FedEx had another case that was similar to this one, and it was mediated in Albuquerque with this specific mediator. His name's Dirk, and they didn't settle for a reasonable demand, and then they got hit for well over $100 million. So I wanted to bring FedEx back to the same place that they made the wrong decision last time with the same mediator, and hope that they make a better decision."
Did they make a better decision?
It's the first time I've ever gone into a different state for that reason, but that's what we did. So before we went, we submitted a mediation parameters, and those include, you're going to start out at this amount. Any payment that we agree upon is going to be made in 30 days. The money is going to go into a qualified settlement fund. You will not involve any defense brokers in our client's finances. And so you submit that, and they say, "Okay, yeah, we'll go to mediation," and that all those issues should be, not an issue anymore. Well, we go to mediation the first day, doesn't settle. Come back the next day, doesn't settle. Finally, they send a mediator's proposal, and that mediator's proposal was for $62.5 million.
Okay.
And it expired at 8 a.m. the next day. The defense said, "We need more time." And they asked for more time, and Sean responded with, "We will give you more time, but you have to abide by all of the conditions in our mediation parameter letter, no exceptions." They took the extra time, came back and said, "We'll pay it."
All right.
Okay, so $62.5 million, we got this settlement worked out.
Not bad.
So we are waiting for them to actually pay, because they got to pay in 30 days. Well, 3 weeks goes by, and they still haven't sent a settlement agreement over. They finally send it over, and it says no QSF. We're like, wait a minute. Like, did you not read the parameter letter?
Right.
And so we go, "Well, you already agreed to this, and we read it into the court record. That this case was settled." And they say, "Well, we're not going to do it." So then we had to go to court, and we had to enter a judgment against them. And we had to help prepare a lot of the motions, because they were coming up with all these reasons why they couldn't do it or wouldn't do it. And we got the judge to rule that, they in fact did owe the money. And because they were late and they took all this extra time messing around with the QSF, they had to pay almost $1 million extra in interest and fees and costs.
Oh, so altogether that came to what? Over?
I think that the total was 63 something. Almost 63.5.
Oh, well,
and so it was just a good reminder of how important it is to be, very specific as to what it is that you're agreeing to, so that when it all comes down to it, you actually get, what you bargained for.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cases Gone Wild, special edition brought to you downtown Detroit from the Michigan Trial Lawyers Summit, where we had the pleasure of hearing from all these guests from around the country about their craziest cases. We'll see you in another 2 weeks. If you or someone you know need help, please go to marcolaw.com or give us a call, 833-MARCO-LAW, M-A-R-K-O Law. We'll see you in another 2 weeks for another great episode of Cases Gone Wild.